Hello guys, welcome to this second video of the week number 6. So in the previous lesson we have already talked about psychological needs, safety, love and belongingness, and esteem. Hopefully those are really clear, especially as I mentioned before, the difference between love and belongingness versus esteem needs, okay? Well, if we continue climbing up the ladder of climbing up the pyramid of hierarchies, we are going to find that only until this part we arrive into the cognitive needs. Okay? So this for us as educators is really, really important. Okay? Take into account all the other things that are priority for the human being rather than knowledge. Okay? So human being requires to be fed, to be safe, to be sexually satisfied, to feel protected, to have a good environment, to feel loved, to feel respected before he is supposed to have any sort of motivation towards cognitive ideas. Yes? So if you take a look at the aspects over here, you will see that we have knowledge and understanding. So this knowledge can be, well, I think that as teachers normally think about knowledge in terms of academics, right? But many people like just learning, right? Not necessarily at school. So learning somehow a practical procedure, a process, a sport, anything that stimulates their idea of knowledge also counts as a cognitive stimulus. Curiosity, exploration, need of meaning and predictability, right? So all of these go over there into this cognitive needs segment of the pyramid. Also take a look at, let's say, these different things in the end. No, it says need for meaning, and that's a rather intangible thing. Not only that you're learning and memorizing and somehow acquiring things, or even just something merely administrative, such as somehow going from one grade to the next, but you also required like to find some meaning, some purpose into that knowledge that you're having, right? And predictability. I know that we like surprises, some of us, right? And sometimes. But normally, let's say, the possibility of predicting what is going to happen thanks to our knowledge is a satisfactory one. Yes, based on our experience, based on what we have learned, based on how our classes are developed, are prepared, you expect a certain level of predictability. Yes, of a certain level of being able to anticipate what is going to happen. There is a little bit what happens in the safety needs. No, it says routine and familiarity. If every day you have a surprise when you arrive to your class in a negative way, yes, let's say that the teacher just explains topics that are completely unconnected to each other. I don't know, you have a pop quiz every now and then, and you are completely unprepared for it. I don't know, different things, right, related to it, to this predictability. Even I don't know, having pretty frequent pop quizzes, even though they are unpredicted. I mean, at some point it can be predictable, right? So hopefully you get my point in the predictability part, and is that you feel that there is some sort of a structure, that there is purpose and meaning in what you're doing, and that it's going to be worth something. Yes, and that is what happens a lot, that people feels that their career is going nowhere, right? That they don't feel comfortable, and they would like to quit, but then it's too late, or for money issues, or for parents' expectancy, or for I don't know, whatever they really feel motivated to does not produce money at all. Yeah, there are a lot of different things here in the cognitive aspects, but well, this predictability, that's why I'm making some emphasis, because I think it's important. I mean, the other part is clear enough, I expect. So this is about the cognitive needs. Then we have the aesthetic needs. Yes, we're talking about beauty in art and in nature, symmetry, balance, order, or form. So these aesthetic needs are basically contemplative. Yes, the possibility of enjoying yourself by being able to entertain in the conception of aesthetic that you have. So for some people, aesthetics may be poetry and literature and paintings and I don't know, concerts and music. For other people, it may be just going dancing, or maybe having fun, or I don't know, playing paintball, or doing some sort of entertainment activity related to physical procedures, or I don't know, somehow spending time with some of your close friends, well, something like that, right? Anything that has to do with this aesthetics and this contemplation of beauty and somehow art, or just hiking, or going to a mountain, or whatever, right? So you can see that it's even higher on the pyramid. And then we have the final part, right? It says self-actualization. Yeah, and if we take a look at what it says, it says realizing your full potential, becoming everything one is capable of becoming. Yes? So achieving that level after you being able to satisfy the whole thing, so you are not hungry anymore, you're not cold anymore, you are safe, yeah, you are loved, you are respected, you know a lot, you are able to enjoy yourself by means of art or movies or music or whatever, and then you feel on the top of the world, right? That is the self-actualization, and this is the peak moment that Maslow talked about. Yes, why peak? It's on the peak, say on top of the pyramid. Now, hopefully we understand all these different components, no? But this is not like like in this moment of my life I am here in the STEAM part or in the cognitive part. This is a little bit less consecutive, right? So let's take a look at what we say over here on the left segment of the slide. Yes, it says that each need requires to be satisfied before the next can motivate us. This is really important because most of the times it is undeniable that it's like that. Yes, so and this is what Maslow proposes, that you definitely, in order to achieve self-actualization, you need to start in order from the physiological part, the safety, and advance, right? And I will have to agree that most of the times it's like this. Nevertheless, there are exceptions, right? And these exceptions are all around. Yes, there are people who study being hungry, and nevertheless they excel at it, right? There are people who have been able to write wonderful novels and tales and poetry, and well, you know, talk to you from my experience, from my study field. Many of the most important writers in literature wrote under terrible conditions, under terrible deprivations, under circumstances of war, under circumstances of hunger, circumstances of solitude, of not being loved, of being lonely. Yes, and nevertheless they produce wonderful things. So what Maslow suggests in here is that it's not impossible, like, to jump from, not necessarily from the first to the second, but from the first to the third, or being able to realize the cognitive needs without having any esteem needs or without having any love needs satisfied, right? So it's not that it's impossible. The thing is that it's not ideal. Yes, it's not recommendable. It's not something that we should create the conditions for. Like, if we're educators, hopefully we should try to guarantee certain things or to procure. Nevertheless, you know as well as I do that reality is completely different, and that there are a lot of things that are not our under control, right? Uh, Nevertheless, take that into account. Under normal conditions, I mean, in order to jump needs, like to skip some of them, you will have to have a real big motivation. Yes, real big intrinsic motivation, such as I'm going to study really hard because I know that my parents depend on me, my family depends on me, and even though I am not having at this moment, for example, love and belongingness satisfied or esteem needs, I'm going to continue with my drive. I really want to publish a book, so no matter if I have to sell every single thing that I have and have a lot of debts and dedicate myself to this job of writing, I'm going to do it. Yes. So there is a very big drive in there, a motivation that overcomes any other limitation. But that is not the case of most of the people. Take that into account. Now, the other thing, as I mentioned, is not that this is like a progressive thing in terms of age, like when you're 15, so you're on the love and belongingness, and then when you grow up, you're in the cognitive. No, it's not like that. It's like every day we go down and up the hierarchy several times. Like in a single day, we are satisfying the basics, so we can go to the cognitive, and then we go down if there's something. Let's say emotional that happened with a friend, with your girlfriend, with your husband, with your parents, and then you can have self-actualization if you have a really good result on a test, or have really good news from your family, or that day you were able to somehow achieve some common goal that you had with your couple, right? But you go up and down several times, yes. And we reach different levels until we go to the bottom. Yes, always. Like when we go to sleep, basically we're satisfying the rest need, and we go back down there, right? And we don't care in that moment about love or esteem or cognitive, but at least not consciously. And that is a Freudian thing that maybe we'll discuss at some point about dreams. But we always go down to the physiological needs, and then we will start like advancing one more time. So these have a lot of different applications, of course. Hopefully I don't even need to tell you, because you should be perceptive enough to see how important is this for us as educators, right? That this as teachers will help us to potentially motivate students. Remember that first motivation is intrinsical, so if it's not that, well, it will be difficult, but we can do that, at least understand certain things related to their goals, to their talents, to their skills, to some of their needs that may or may not be satisfied, to try to understand certain behaviors, try to understand certain rejections, try to understand why some activities, games, icebreakers, warm-ups, etc. Are more motivating than others. It's a lot of different things, right? We can help them with their autonomous learning, with setting their own goals, different things related to it, right? Of course, this has a lot of different usages, not only on let's say education, but also related to, for example, psychology itself and therapy. Yes, how can somehow the therapist, the psychologist, or the psychiatrist may help the patients understand their needs. Yes, so you can go into this pyramid, and with the help of a professional, say, hey, I'm lacking on STEAM needs, or maybe it's cognitive, or maybe it has to do with safety, or maybe my aesthetic needs are not so satisfied, and with this somehow of this way of locating your lacks, yes, your difficulties or your unsatisfied needs, you know where to attack the problem, and you can come up with ideas of how to do better with those needs, right? So locating these needs is really important. Even these have some, let's say, uses in at work. Yes, so sometimes in companies, in enterprises, managers or human resources directors um, motivate or improve production by making a better canteen, by making more affordable prices in the cafeteria, somehow motivating student employees, sorry, with this employee of the month thing. Yes, for example, that will go with esteem and needs, right? Like recognizing somebody, showing respect. So this can be done in all these different things, right? And sadly, it can also be done in reverse, right? Like you can sort of make life difficult for somebody if you know that we have all these different things. So this was even done as usual. Like we human beings are horrible people and normally take a good things and make it terrible. So there are some of these studies of Maslow that were used for torture, for interrogation of prisoners, for let's say control of the population in jails. Makes sense, right? If you deprive a person, for example, if you send a prisoner to isolation, well, it is likely that he is going to suffer and his behavior would artificially improve, right? And well, a lot of different things, right? But I personally think that Maslow is, let's say, this pyramid is really useful, and for us as teachers, if we use it correctly, it might be good. It might be a good idea, at least for understanding certain things and acting accordingly. Sometimes it's not so easy to find solutions, but the first step is understanding, and I am convinced that that would help, right? Well, so here we go with the first assignment of the week. That is the one that we are going to find in the slide number 29. It says list a minimum of 10 activities of your daily routine. So let's imagine that you're, I don't know, teaching present simple, and you're going to list all these activities such as I wake up, I have breakfast, I take a shower. All these, yes, you select it. Hopefully they are a little bit varied, yes? Simply list them, no more. List the activities. Then you're going to do the next part. It says briefly explain how each relates to a space in Maslow pyramid. So let's make it really easy, yes? And it says having breakfast. So, well, that definitely belongs, if we go back to the pyramid, belong to the physiological needs part. Having breakfast, well, shortly you explain that having food at the beginning of the day is really important because that would provide the first input of energy that you would require for doing the rest of the things, right? And that's it, you see, something really short. It's just the list, it's just the activity, having breakfast, a short explanation, and the classification in the physiological needs, okay? So that's it, guys. Simply let's say that we are going to select these 10 activities. I would appreciate if you can have at least 3 or 4 levels of the pyramid, right? Like, don't start saying eating again, like having a snack, having lunch, dinner. Now, come on, we're trying to classify this and getting to understand how it works in different ways and in our daily routine, right? So hopefully you can include activities that have a connection with cognitive needs, with esteem needs, love and affection, safety, etc. If anybody can find a way to include self-actualization at some point, that would be great. Yes, would be like try to think about an example of a daily activity that produces in you a peak experience or this self-actualization process, right? Now, as usual, we are going to work in teams of 4 people maximum. The activities can be from only one person, or can be activities of everybody. You decide. You don't need to tell me. Simply, you're going to do it in that way, okay? Um, so that will be the assignment number one. Now, let's go to the final part of the presentation, something really short, and I will tell you about the assignment number two as well. So if you go to the slide number 3, you will see the findings. So Maslow studied all of these, of course, observed a lot of different people throughout different circumstances, had interviews, had, let's say, observing people into their natural environment, to call so, did surveys, uh, you know, any sort of observation mechanism, and let's say research tool that you are familiar with. Well, he found certain things, yes, and something that he found is that about only 1% of the population are self-actualizers, right? So normally, a really small of point of the population, or part of the population, segment of the population, have peak experiences. Yes, there is a really inferior amount of people um, who feels that they are the best version of themselves. Yes, normally people are dissatisfied with what they do, with their own esteem, with their own achievements and goals, right? And this is not a surprise, I guess, right? But well, he sort of scientifically was able to determine that. Yes. Now, something interesting over here is that he found that among those people who were actually actualizer, really few, about this 1%, uh, they were composed entirely by middle-aged or older individuals, right? So there are really few self-actualizers, and those few are either middle-aged or older, okay? And there goes our second assignment. Really simple, really simple. You are going to answer this question: why do you think that the self-actualizers are middle-aged or older individuals? Why they are not uh, children? Why they are not teens? Why they are not just young adults? No, they tend to be middle-aged people, 40, 45, 38, and older individuals, 50, 60, 70, right? Just explain that. I am going to ask you to write a paragraph to answer that question. That would be the assignment number 2. Write a paragraph to answer that question. If you have any examples, somehow familiar to you or just general, provide them. If you want to do additional research, well, that would be great. And that will be it. Okay, so that is the second one. This is really short, so I think that we can do it in groups of up to 3 people, right? Because 4 is too much, too many, I think, for just a paragraph, right? So 3 people maximum in this case, or again 2 or 1 or individually, okay? So that was Maslow. As you can see on the right, left, right, yes, on the right over here, you will see like a list of like the threats, the features, and the traits of healthy psychologically healthy people, right? And it's interesting because this sounds like something really trivial, no? Like something you will find in a magazine of varieties, or like a quiz on Facebook, like the 10 characteristics of healthy people or something like that. Well, let me read a couple for you. An objective perception of reality, acceptance of their own natures, a commitment and dedication to some type of work, naturalness, simplicity in behavior and spontaneity, independence, and need for autonomy and privacy. You see, like it sounds like Yeah, this is like a trivia on Facebook, like what kind of empanada are you or something like that, and you get the results that are very generic. Well, you're not so far, because in the next video, well, in the next week, we will see Rogers that had a really nice intention, yes, but was normally twisted, like his proposal was transformed or altered in in my opinion, bad way. Because doesn't this self-actualization sound to you like self-help, like autoayuda, like these books and things that, well, I don't know if any of you like them. I respect that. I don't. I think they tend to be really bad for people, and I will like tell you my personal opinion in the next video. But we're going to the other extreme, right? So we're going from dogs being slaves inside a box into, I don't know, maybe being too soft for everyone good. Okay, but well, we will discuss that in the next class. Thank you very much. Please don't forget about how close we are to the test, and that's it. Take care of yourself, guys. We need you. So hope to see you soon at some point. Thanks a lot. Bye bye, hugs.